Happy New Year. I wish you all good health, happy life, and peace to all of you. Happy New Year. It's time for us to reflect on how things had been through this 22. When you think about, many people think it was a bad year, many people think it was a good year. So people perceived things in different ways. How you see it, how you related to it, how you responded to it, how you react to it. Everything is basically perception, and that perception influences every aspect of our lives. But New Year is the perfect time to reconnect with your spiritual practice. And it is a time full of hope and potential. So make a commitment. It's a perfect time. Make a commitment, your spiritual practice, the way you want to practice. Make time for your practice. So important. So I hope you do that, and I hope it brings a lot of happiness, love, and harmony. So I'm wishing you a happy New Year first. And then, of course, take a moment and correct your motivation. Then today, listen the teaching carefully, the teaching. Khenpo Sherab, who was one of the best student of Patrul Rinpoche, and as I mentioned many times, he wrote a commentary on the way of Bodhisattva. And he said, when, if you listen to the teaching motivated by desire, such as desire for greediness, desire for fame, desire for wealth, etc., or with when you listen teaching with your mind sort of mixed with attachment, aversion, ignorance, and so on, then the Dharma practice and receive teachings will no longer benefit your life, no longer benefit especially your mind. So therefore, we must correct our motivation and try to teach and try to listen without these sort of defect. And we should try to control our actions, conduct, generate bodhicitta, which is the essence of this text, this teaching. So usually, like myself, when I have teaching, like this, I usually don't do a lot of good things for others. I just have these teachings when I have teachings, and when I help people who want to practice, give them a little bit of instructions from my teachers. And then for my, practice myself, that's all I do. So I always say, make sure that, these things, do these things correctly, which is, based on not selfishness, based on sort of, good motivation. That's very important for you too. I don't know you, lots of people, of course, I know here, really want to practice Dharma, receive these teachings and put them into practice. But some of you are not like that. Some of you just come here, investigate, or just what is this really, this Buddhism, this teachings about, So if that's the case, that's totally fine. But if you really want to practice, you have to respect the teachings of Buddha and listen carefully and based on your good motivation. So please correct your motivation here and now. That's very important. And then now in the last class, we talked a little bit about the lineage of the way of Bodhisattva. As I said, I received this teaching directly from my teachers, Kanchimpa Matsewa. And this teaching goes back to their teachers, like Kanchen Thapten Chumper, and then Kambuyonga, and then Patrul Rinpoche, so and so. So you can read their history, their biographies on Bodhicitta Sangha's website, actually, and the lineage page, if you want to learn more about this lineage. Now today, I would like to talk a little bit about Patrul Rinpoche, because Patrul Rinpoche was a big part of this teaching. And he dedicated so much of his time to teaching the Bodhisattva's way of life. So therefore, his followers, his disciples believed and regarded him as an emanation of Shantideva. Patrul Rinpoche was one of the greatest Nyingma master, Nyingma scholars, and the Mahāyāna Dzogchen sort of practitioners of the 19th century. In the stories of Buddhism in Tibet, Patrul Rinpoche was the greatest figure in the propagation of the Bodhisattva's way of life, because he recognized that the Bodhicharya Avatara is one of the great teachings of Mahāyāna Buddhism. So Patrul Rinpoche taught this text, this teaching everywhere, more than 100 times. Can you believe that? More than 100 times during his life in different monasteries like Nyingma, Gelug, Garjut, all the traditions, doesn't matter. He went to different monasteries and everywhere, all over in Tibet. So he dedicated his whole life to, developing this teaching everywhere in Tibet. So he went to, different monasteries, and he created actually a great sort of ceremony, great event called Chonjuk Chodpa. Chonjuk is the way of Bodhisattva. Chodpa means offering. So he taught this teaching during this great ceremony, great event. Not only in the Nyingma tradition, Nyingma monasteries, but he went like Garjit, Gelug, Nyingma all over, and he created this ceremony. And amazingly, whenever Patrul Rinpoche taught the Bodhicharya Avatara, there was, the yellow flowers appeared. These flowers came to be known as Chonjuk Meto. Chonjuk, again, means the way of Bodhisattva, and Meto is flower. So it means Bodhicharya Avatara flower, yellow flower. If you do things correctly, everything is possible. So during the, Patrul Rinpoche, these teachings and this ceremony, the yellow flower grow, and that's still like very common in Tibet. Chonjuk Meto during the Chonjuk Chopa, it appeared. So when Patrul Rinpoche started this ceremony, the monks from the monasteries, different monasteries, and also the ordinary people, Tibetan ordinary people from different villages and different towns, all got together at the monasteries, and then they arranged very extensive offerings during this ceremony, this event. And then, first they would renew the Bodhisattva's vow every morning, and then either Patrul Rinpoche himself, or sometimes there was a Khenpo, they would explain the text, give teachings about, bodhicitta, and then everyone would meditate on it according to the oral instructions of Patrul Rinpoche. And they would recite the entire Bodhicharya Avatara chapter by chapter throughout the day. So that is, how they did this ceremony. I mean, still, people do this event, this ceremony once a year. Still, these days, it's maintained at the many monasteries in Tibet. Of course, my monasteries, they do this Chonjuk Chopas, huge one, like once, every year. And not just my monasteries, but also like other Gelug, I know that Gelug monasteries, Garjit monasteries, they do that once every year. So I think, maybe our this coming, May retreat this year, I think will be similar to this Chonjuk Chodpa, I think it will be good for us. Maybe we will use also Patrul Rinpoche's, there is a text called the brightly shining sun or something like that. So this text is about the stages of a guide to meditating on the way of Bodhisattva by Patrul Rinpoche. Bodhisattva, the way of Bodhisattva by Shantideva. So I think it would be good for us as a Mahāyāna practitioner. So I just want to let you know that and keep that in your mind. If you are available at that time, please join us. May retreat. We'll do this Jonjung Chopa. Patrul Rinpoche also said that in his biography, you know, Patrul Rinpoche has read the Bodhisattva's way of life more than 1,000 times and still gains wisdom each time he read the text. So as you know, he spent most of his time, of course, many of you know him, so wandering through remote areas of East Tibet, sometimes living in the caves, meditate, sometimes living in the hermitages, and sometimes he living in monasteries and to teach not just way of Bodhisattva, but other teachings. So, you know, he never remained very long at one place. He always wandered, and he has no home. It was easy because he owns almost nothing. You know, at the time of his death, he possessed the clothes and he was wearing, and there were two texts, you know, the root text of Bodhicharya Avatara, then root text of Guyagarbha Tantra, and then I think he had a statue of Buddha, and he has a bowl and teapot. That's pretty much all. So, you know, the external behavior like was also very similar to Shantideva. Remember, we talked about Shantideva's biography last class. So when people met him, Patrul Rinpoche, he was a great bodhisattva, but he behaved as an ordinary person. So most people did not recognize him, you know. But, you know, the essence of his practice was bodhicitta, as the very root of spiritual practice. He was like Shantideva, so people believed he was an emanation of Shantideva, but it's really his inner practice, the way he, you know, practiced and focused, generate bodhicitta, and the external, like he behaved, everything was like Shantideva. So he was a great bodhisattva. That's why he dedicated his whole life to teach this teaching, the bodhisattva's way of life. So as I said, his practice of bodhicitta was just like Shantideva. So people really regarded him as the very reincarnation of Shantideva himself. So his entire life was dedicated to the genuine study and practice, give the Mahāyāna teachings. Patrul Rinpoche also gave this teaching, the Bodhisattva way of life, to Khenpo Sherab orally. Khenpo Sherab, as I mentioned, Khenpo Sherab studied for many years with Patrul Rinpoche, and he served as a Patrul Rinpoche's attendant during his later years. So therefore, Khenpo Khenpo's teachings are based on Patrul Rinpoche's oral instructions. And Khenpo Khenpo also, as I said, wrote a very comprehensive commentary on the Bodhicharyavatara. It's called the Nectar of Manjushri's Speech. If you have this book, good. If you don't have, you can buy it. It's called the Nectar of Manjushri's Speech. So if you want to read it, Khanchen Pama Tsewa said that Khenpo Khenpo's commentary really the best captures Patrul Rinpoche's oral instructions of Bodhicharyavatara, because Khenpo Khenpo was studied, with Patrul Rinpoche's many years. Based on he received Patrul Rinpoche oral instructions, then he wrote it, the commentary of the word Bodhisattva. That's why Khenpo Khenpo's commentary became very famous and very popular. So I received his commentary at the very beginning of my studies, because Khenpo Khenpo wrote his commentary as a guide for practitioners, people who study, people who train themselves in bodhicitta. So therefore, we are very fortunate that we have Patrul Rinpoche's sort of direct instructions, and the lineage is available to us in these times, unbroken, these transmissions and oral instructions. So therefore, I just want to let you know that Patrul Rinpoche was a big part of this teaching, and how he dedicated his whole life to, teach this bodhisattva way of life. And, wherever Patrul Rinpoche, he took, the root text of way of Bodhicharyavatara. So it's very important to understand that. Now, you should also know that the Bodhicharyavatara has 10 chapters, right? And according to tradition, it was translated 3 times from Indian manuscripts into Tibetan. So it was first translated into Tibetan in the 8th century by the great Tibetan translator called Gawapatsak. You probably know, he's the best Tibetan translator. He studied Sanskrit language many years, and then he went to India, of course, and studied Sanskrit, and then he translated from Sanskrit into Tibetan. And that was the first translation, the Bodhisattva way of life. And then many years after that, another great Tibetan translator called Rinchen Zangpo, Lodzawa, Rinchen Zangpo. Lodzawa means translator, Rinchen Zangpo. So he translated into Tibetan, and according to this, the information, they said 11th century. That was the second translation of Bodhisattva way of life. Then third translation is again about, they said 100 years later, another great Tibetan translator called Nyingma Lineage. He translated it again. So we should, so this teaching, this text was in Sanskrit language, but they translated into Tibetan 3 times because they were really make sure that translate correctly. And they, of course, this is 3 translations, but also they investigate and study many times. So therefore, we're very fortunate. We should respect and remember the kindness of these translators. They went through very difficult situations. They went to, India from Tibet, the culture and the language, everything different, but they never give up. So you see, all these great translators and also Tibetan masters considered that it is the most important Mahāyāna teaching. As I mentioned earlier, if we want to study and practice Mahāyāna Buddhism, then this teaching is the perfect guide and the best. It shows how to practice the most precious mind of Bodhicitta. That's why. And of course, this teaching written by Shantideva, he was the great Mahāyāna scholar and bodhisattva. Therefore, there is a blessing, not just a text. That's why I think so many, there are different Indian commentaries on the Bodhicharya Avatara. I think there are 10 different commentaries, Indian commentaries. And then, of course, there were hundreds of Tibetan masters' commentaries on this text, because this text is the most important Mahāyāna teaching. Therefore, like Tibetan masters, they wrote lots of commentaries. Some are really lots of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pages. But I think the Khenpo Sherab's commentaries is a very good one, because he was the student of, directly, student of Patrul Rinpoche. Patrul Rinpoche was really the emanation of Shantideva himself. So therefore, there was a story, Kanchen Pamatsewa told us that when he was at the monastery of Kanchen Tibetan Chumpo, his root teacher's monastery. At that time, the monks asked Kanchen Tibetan Chumpo to create a good set of monastic rules about, what is the monks, what is allowed and what is not allowed, There's usually we have these rules, the monastic rules are about the outer and inner discipline of the monks, right? So the different monasteries has a different monastic rules. And the monks asked Kanchen Tibetan Chumpo, we have to create the monastic rule. And then Kanchen Thupten Jumbo said, we don't need to create new monastic rules. We already have one, which is this teaching, way of Bodhisattva. If you practice and if you follow the way of Bodhisattva, then he said, you don't need anything else. This is the discipline. This is the how to, practice and how you act, how you conduct, how you speak, how you behave. Everything is in here according to Mahāyāna, teachings. So he said, we don't need to create a different and a new monastic rule. So we have to practice the way of Bodhisattva, and we have to follow this teaching. That's why, Patrul Rinpoche created, these teachings all over in Tibet, and he carried the root text of the way of Bodhisattva with him. So that's when Kanchen Pama Tsewala, when he started teach this text, us, the first he said, you have to memorize the whole teaching, the text. So you should study and practice it as much as you can. Not just be satisfied by receiving these teachings once, right? Then forget them. That's not how you practice. That's not how you study Buddhism. These teachings must be practiced again and again and constantly applied to your daily life. So, first, you should study one stanza of the text and then analyze the teaching. If you don't understand, then you have to read the commentaries. And then you make a commitment to practice it. At first, think about the meaning of the teachings and then try to apply it in your daily activities. And you should also recite and chant the root text, because it is a wonderful way to learn this teaching more deeply. When you recite, you focus on the recitation, right? So you recite the stanza, and then you are also sort of thinking about the meaning of the stanza. So your concentration is there. My teacher, Kanchen Pama Tsewang, always tell us that, like when you study this, not these teachings, when you study, you recite these teachings, you study these teachings, your mind is focused on the teachings. So then there is no other negative thoughts there during that time. So that is also like we call meditation. So you cannot sort of recite the stanzas, but you're thinking something else. I mean, you have to focus on the meaning of the rest, the stanzas, and then you recite the words correctly. So you are really sort of focused on the teaching. So then this is also part of your meditation, because it prevents your other sort of your negative thoughts, So while you are reciting this stanza, your mind is there. Your mind is focused on that. So then there's no other thoughts can come in. So therefore, this is a wonderful way to learn the teaching. Also, reduce your negative thoughts. So therefore, if you are really want and if you are able to memorize this root text, that would be best. If not, you should recite the stanzas, the chapter by chapter, as much as you can. That's how I learned, that's what we learned, So Khenpo Matsewa always said that there's no better teaching than the way of bodhisattvas in either India or Tibet. And he also said that this text is good for beginners as well as scholars, So that means both new student, new and old practitioners, no matter, it's good for everyone. That's that. And now, before we start the root text, I would also like to talk a little bit about the way Patrul Rinpoche summarized and organized the whole teachings of the Bodhicharya Avatara into 4 main sections based on Shantideva's Bodhicitta aspiration prayer. Okay? Keep this in mind. It's very important. We always practice this Bodhicitta prayer, right? So you all know this prayer. We always, every day. I do every day, like many times. This is Shantideva's the aspiration Bodhicitta prayer. We say, may spring precious Bodhicitta take birth where it has not arisen. Where it has arisen, may it never went, but continue to grow forevermore. So this, according to Patrul Rinpoche's oral instruction, this Bodhicitta aspiration prayer summarizes the entire Bodhicharya Avatara. So that's why we always recite this prayer. When I start teaching here, translated into English, and then I gave the name of this, Sangha, Bodhicitta Sangha, many years ago, and then we recited this prayer all the time, every day, right? Because I know this is the best prayer if you understand the meaning of this prayer. And also, this Sangha name is Bodhicitta Sangha. People, the Patrul Rinpoche always say, even people hear the name of Bodhicitta, there's a tremendous benefit. Therefore, I want you to practice Bodhicitta. So again, as I said, this teaching text has 10 chapters, right? So let's go by talk, by chapter. So the first 3 chapters explaining the benefits of bodhicitta. Okay, in Tibetan we call it the meaning explaining the benefits of bodhicitta. That's first chapter. We are going to start pretty soon. And then second, confessing negativity chapter, and then the third one is taking hold of bodhicitta, in Tibetan. So these three chapters give rise to the precious bodhicitta where it has not yet arisen. So these three chapters deal with arisen bodhicitta, okay? Because the first chapter, as I said, is about the benefits of bodhicitta. So you have to understand the benefit of bodhicitta so that you want to practice bodhicitta. Once you really understand its benefits correctly, then wow, bodhicitta, I want to practice bodhicitta. So that's why the first chapter is about the benefit, the explaining, the benefits of bodhicitta. And then second chapter is actually how to prepare your mind in order to practice bodhicitta. So you have to purify your, negativity, which is selfish mind, basically. So that's second chapter. And then third chapter introduces you to the bodhisattva's vow, the commitment to use one's life to help others, okay? That is the first three chapters of Bodhicharya Avatara. And the first, the May Spring precious bodhicitta, right? Take birth where it's not arisen. That's that. And then the following three chapters, there is a chapter, carefulness or mindfulness chapter. And then there's awareness chapter. And then the patient chapter. So these three chapters prevent the decrease of the precious bodhicitta where it has arisen. So these three chapters deal with how to remain, how to sustain bodhicitta in your mind and prevent it from being lost or diminished. Okay? Because you need carefulness, mindfulness, you need awareness, and also you need to practice patience. So there's three chapters. And then the last three chapters of the way of Bodhisattva, the 7th, 8th, and 9th chapters, right? So I said there's 10 chapters. So the 7th chapters, the diligence chapter, then something in Tibet means meditative concentration chapter. And then the last chapter, the wisdom chapter, talk about emptiness, how to recognize the nature of my Buddha nature, all of that. So these three chapters not only prevent the decrease of the precious bodhicitta, but cause it to increase more and more bodhicitta. So these three chapters deal with methods for increasing your bodhicitta. So you see this prayer, aspiration, may spring precious body, take birth where it has not arisen. So that is 3 chapters, the first chapter. And then where it has arisen, may it never went. That is another 3 chapters. And then, but continue to grow forevermore. That is the last 3 chapters. And then the 10th chapter, right? That's the 10th chapter. The last chapter is concluding, prayers of dedication. So the 1 chapter is dedication chapter. So you see, the whole text is focusing on how to develop bodhicitta, the awakening mind. The whole, this teaching. So you should understand that that's the summary of the entire, this bodhicharya avatara, according to Patrul Rinpoche's instruction. Patrul Rinpoche used this Shantideva's aspiration bodhicitta prayer, and then he recognized, oh, this prayer, Shantideva wrote these 4 lines, right? 4 lines, this prayer, but it's include all this, you know, this, the entire, this teaching included. So Patrul Rinpoche recognized that, and Patrul Rinpoche, you know, that's why he explains this. That is the summary, okay? Summary of the entire bodhicitta avatara, this way of bodhisattva. So also you can, you know, we say this prayer every day, right? So when you say this prayer every day, basically you are practicing the whole text, whole teaching of this entire, this bodhicharya avatara's teaching, if you understand correctly, you know. So when you say the made the supreme precious bodhicitta, when you say this teaching, this prayer, you have to think about all this meaning. Now I'm going to start with the root text and the first chapter, which is, as I said, the benefits of explaining the benefits of bodhicitta. You really need to study this and need to understand the benefits of bodhicitta, practice bodhicitta. Then you really want to practice bodhicitta and grow and generate bodhicitta in your mind. So the first chapter of a guide to the bodhisattvas way of life, as I said earlier, explains the benefits of bodhicitta and shows us how do I say, the benefits of realizing this precious mind, which is, you have it, I have it, everybody have it, but we don't understand how precious it is. So again, remember when we talk about Shantideva's life, you know, Shantideva introduced the bodhicitta, awakening mind, and inspires us to develop it. That's the whole, like, Shantideva's motivation. He motivated, he wrote this text based on, you know, awakening mind, inspires us to develop this. And Shantideva encourages himself and his followers, his disciples, to practice bodhicitta as a wonderful goal. And step by step, Shantideva focus on the real source of the problem, right? It is the ego, it is the selfishness, the basis of the selfishness and of every other defilement. So we have a great opportunity for awakening from this ego. Our ego, my ego, your ego is so strong, this selfishness this is the source of the root of suffering, this ego. So this, the whole, essence, the point of this teaching is how to reduce this ego practiced by bodhicitta, so that our enlightenment is in our own hands. When you diminish or reduce your ego, your selfishness, then you have enlightenment. That's all. That's the whole point of this teaching. Maybe, I always say, Shantideva, said that we have this human boat, so we can free ourselves from suffering. Shantideva also said, all the joy the world contains has come through wishing happiness for others. All the suffering, the misery the world contains has come through wanting happiness for oneself and harm others. You will see this quote, and this from Bodhisattva, well, Bodhisattva. So now, all of this talks from the last class until now is about the explanation of the main topic of the Bodhicharyavatara. Okay? So I just give you a little bit sort of picture so that you can see the meaning of this teaching. Not in detail, but you can kind of like, you can summarize, this whole teaching. What is the point of this teaching? What is about it? Who was Shantideva and Patrul Rinpoche? What is the lineage of this Jonju, the way of Bodhisattva? How came these teachings generation to generation? So, so that's why I just want to let you know sort of a little bit about the explanation of the main topic of this teaching, so that it can inspires you, and you want to practice bodhicitta, you want to study these teachings, not just once you received, but continuously. You want to recite this root text. It's a good thing is it's in English, both the root text and commentaries in English, your language. You don't have to speak Tibetan. You don't have to speak Sanskrit. It's available. So that's that. Another thing is that traditionally the teachings give when I received these teachings, the teachers give the sort of preliminary topics of teaching before they start the main teaching. For example, how the teacher should explain the Dharma, the teaching, how the student should listen to the teachings, how you should create the inner motivation, or how you should adapt the outer conduct, and etc., right? But I'm not going to talk about all of that. If you would like to learn all of that, as I said, I recommend you read Khenpo Sherab's commentary. The beginning, his commentary, he talks about all of this, how you the teachers how to teach these things. So what is the motivation? The student, how you listen this teaching, all of that. If you want to learn that, you should read Khenpo Khenpo's, at least Khenpo Khenpo's commentary. Having said, now I'm going to start the root text, which is the first is the explanation of the title. Okay, the title is given in Sanskrit, right? Which is Bodhisattva Charya Avatara. That is the name of this teaching in Sanskrit, the title. Bodhisattva Charya Avatara, that is the title. So now, why did the translators only keep this title in Sanskrit language? Why? Why is it untranslated? Still, we say Bodhisattva Charya Avatara. When we say that, people understand. So when you read, you can, but if you read a Tibetan text, they keep this title in Sanskrit, Bodhisattva Charya Avatara. The reason, there are many reasons for this untranslated title, but one important, I think, reason is remembering the kindness of the translators, because you can imagine if the entire text were in the Sanskrit language, just like this title, it's not in Tibetan, it's not in English, then how difficult it would be to understand the meaning of the text, or even just to recite the words of the text in Sanskrit. It's kind of difficult, you know. So therefore, the whole text is like this, Sanskrit, you know. Bodhisattva Charya Avatara. But so that means we have to respect the translators. We have to remember the kindness of the translators. They were bodhisattvas. They, not these days, like these days we have lots of translators, but it's not that difficult. At that time, and you can imagine, you walk to India from Tibet, and then the weather is so different. Lots of translators pass away, died, but they never give up, because for us, you know, this is important. So that's why we should remember the kindness of the translators when we see this title. Now, in the Tibetan language, this title is Shangchip Sempi Chopalan Jukpa. So it means, I will explain you word by word. It means Shangchip in your language, awakening, right? Or enlightenment. That is Shangchip. And in Sanskrit, Bodhisattva Charya Avatara. Bodhi is Shangchip in Tibetan, and English, awakening or enlightenment. And then Bodhisattva, right? Sattva. In Tibetan, Sempa. In English, Sattva means like courageous being. And Bodhisattva, then Charya, Yotpa in Tibetan, it is activities or conduct. Charya means activities or conduct. Bodhisattva Charya. Avatara. Avatara means Jukpa, or in English is entrance. So the meaning of this title is Bodhisattva Charya Avatara. The meaning of this title in English, entrance to the conduct of the Bodhisattva. Or English, you know, there are many different translations for this title, right? Some translators translated, say, a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life, which is, I like it. Some translators translated it, say, entering the activities of the Bodhisattvas, or some translators say the way of the Bodhisattva, or some translators guide to awakening. So there are many ways translated in English, but in Tibet and Sanskrit, there's only one, which is Bodhisattva Charyavatara, or Shanchip Sengwicho Palanjupa. But I like the way they translate this in English, the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. And that's that. And then if you think how this text get its name, how, why they say Bodhisattva Charyavatara, why they say a guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life. So generally, there are many ways to give the text name. For example, they can named in accordance with its topic, or the size of the text, or the function of the text, or sometimes they give the text name a location where they wrote, or sometimes a time, or sometimes a person, or metaphor, and so forth. There are many reasons, but here, from among those, the name of this text is according to its topic. Remember, I said the whole topic, the point of this teaching is guide to awakening. That's the topic of this teaching. A guide to awakening, right? So in order to remember the Bodhisattva Charya, Bodhi is enlightenment, right? So in order to attain this Bodhi, the enlightenment, the Bodhisattvas are courageous. That's why Bodhisattvas are people who practice bodhicitta and purify their ego and cares others. That's why they're courageous. They never give up their activities, even if they are difficult to perform, since their mind is so compassionate and courageous. So they're not afraid by any kind of suffering. These bodhisattvas, that's why bodhisattva, sattva, simpa, sim in Tibetan, sim means mind, pa means courageous or hero, because they're not afraid by any kind of suffering in order to help them. So they're never discouraged, and they don't go away from conduct that is difficult to do. That's why bodhisattvas are awakening. They don't have a selfish mind. They're always wishing to benefit other beings. That's why this is called enlightenment, this bodhi. That's the meaning of that. I mean, just very shortly, very briefly, I will just. And then the next, what is the bodhisattva's activity, right? Bodhisattva charya. What is the bodhisattva's activity? What is the bodhisattva's conduct? How they behave? Remember, Shantideva and Patrul Rinpoche, how they, act and behave. the great master, Nyingma master, Longchenpa said that the bodhisattvas must be studied or tamed in everything, but especially they should practice or study in the 6 pāramitās. Because every bodhisattva activity is included within the 6 pāramitās, 6 transcendental perfection, 6 pāramitās, which is this teaching, right? This teaching is all about the 6 pāramitās. Patience, diligent, wisdom, all these 6 pāramitās. So that is the Jodpa, in Tibetan means Jodpa. Jodpa means conduct of bodhisattva, the charya, right? Bodhisattva, charya means Jodpa, the conduct or act, how they act, So they act based on 6 pāramitās. That's the conduct of bodhisattvas, okay? And then what bodhisattva charya, avatara. Now, avatara. The meaning of the word avatara or entering into this bodhisattva's conduct is the bodhisattva charya avatara. Teaches in unmistaken way how to practice the precious bodhicitta, how to act, your action, right? How you act, your body, your speech, your mind, the actions, based on the 6 pāramitās, in accordance with the mental capacity of a beginner. So that is how you entering, into Mahāyāna practice, into Bodhisattva's realm, So as I said before, this text is good for beginners as well as advanced scholars, new, old practitioners. Patrul Rinpoche, he's enlightened being, but he still practiced this text. Ordinary people like us, beginners, but we need this, of course, this practice. Okay. I think that is the explanation of this title. But there are more, detail. If you want to learn more, then you have to read the commentaries. But so in short, and so basically, what is the meaning of this title? Bodhisattva Charyavatara. The explanation of this title. I'm going to stop here. Then we will continue the first chapter next time. First chapter, as I said, the explanation, explaining the benefits of bodhicitta. I love to teach this and always think about the benefits of bodhicitta, practice bodhicitta. Many of you already know because I very much focus on practice bodhicitta since I start this group, Bodhicitta Sangha. Many of you understand the benefits of bodhicitta, and you also have some experience of, this practice and your capacities in getting better and better like that. But still, the benefits of bodhicitta is limitless. So we can't sort of explain its benefit in just few words. So I can explain. I studied this teaching so many years. the root text, the other commentaries. I studied so many commentaries. So there are different ways explaining the benefits of bodhicitta. So we'll see how much we can do this time, but we'll do that. Now, important is meditation. Today, I would like to meditate on Guru Yoga, if you don't mind, because it is the Kanchen Jingme Pancho's anniversary. If you don't know who he is my root teacher. So he passed away on the 15th of Amitabha's day. Early morning, 9 o'clock, 9:43, I think. So it's a very precious day. So I would like to take this opportunity to practice Guru Yoga a little bit. As you know, Guru Yoga means union with the nature of the Guru. Patrul Rinpoche said, if you practice Guru Yoga, then recognition of the nature mind is possible. So I'm not going to explain what is meaning of Guru Yoga, you all know that, but those of you who have a connection to Kanchen Jingme Pancho, either directly or through from different teachers, through our lineage, or through also like my teachings, you should consider him as your root guru. I always say that. I always say, even though I gave this Dzogchen teaching, given the, pointing instruction nature, please don't consider me as your root guru. I'm not your root guru. I have a tremendous connection to my teachers, and they were real enlightened beings. I'm not saying this because they are my teacher, but based on their capacity and their motivation. So if you understand you have a connection either directly or indirectly, Kanchen Jingme Pancho, you should consider him as your root teacher. And also, those of you already received the pointing out instructions, nature mind, either from me or from other teachers, today this is a great opportunity to meditate on your, sometimes we call inner guru, the nature mind. So that is also Guru Yoga. So if that's the case, like if you have some sort of connection, or some people have a really strong connection, Kanchen Jingme Pancho, some maybe not really strong, but you know who he is, how important, like me, he is very important for me. So if that's the case, if the way you meditate is first, in the sky in front of you, you visualize Kanchen Jingme. I'm going to share, after this, I'm going to share a picture of him. So then you know exactly. So you visualize him, and then just feel his presence and invoke his compassion and blessing. Then after that, you sort of, according to his root, the Guru Yoga practice, then he dissolves a sphere of 5-color light, Tan Lama Wongi Tiglecher in Tibet. So he dissolves into 5 lights, different colors. That is the 5 wisdom. You know, it means 5 wisdom. So into 5-color light, which enters the, you visualize him, you know, there, and then I have their picture there. I don't know you can see clearly or not, I don't know, but then the lights sort of enter the crown of your head and then dissolves into your heart, center of heart, and then let your mind rest its nature, just to relax in that state without any distractions, thoughts. Just you can look directly at the essence and then meditate on it. Okay? So I'm not going to explain more detail how to do. You know that. If you receive the pointing out instruction, nature, mind, and you know how to do this. So for those of you who don't have any connection with Kanchen Jigme Panso, or you don't have sort of received any sort of pointing instructions of nature, mind, then you can also like pray to, you know, think of, visualize and think of, you know, whichever enlightened beings inspires you the most, and then consider this enlightened being represent all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, masters. Then you can meditate. Same thing, they dissolve, you visualize that in there, and then you dissolve, they dissolve into your heart center. And then that means you can meditate on, I call it self-awareness. If you don't know who Kanchen Jigme Panso is, and have no sort of recognition of the nature mind, then you can focus on this awareness, okay? It means just to relax in the present, you know, mindfully, without wandering your mind, and then just to focus on your self-awareness. Try to rest in, you know, this present moment, and open your awareness, letting your mind thoughts come and go without pay too much attention to them. Just be aware of the experience of, you know, inner peace, your inner peace, and this awareness, and then your relaxation. All of this you can do through the mindfulness, okay? So in short, looking at your mind, then just to relax on it. That's all. That's all you need to do. So there are 2 different people here, I know. So you can meditate on nature mind, which we call Dzogchen meditation, or you can meditate on this relaxation, the self-awareness, just through, you know, the mindfulness, your awareness. So in this way, your meditation can help you discover and experience the inner peace and relaxation. It's really good. And if you have a little bit difficult to meditate on this self-awareness, sort of natural awareness, then you can meditate on, I call breath stages, which means you breathe in, relax. You breathe out, relax. Don't too much focus on or pay attention to your thoughts. And, you know, sometimes we are very judgmental and thinking too much, but just if you don't understand the nature of mind, if you don't understand this self-awareness, then just breathe in, relax, breathe out and relax. That's all, okay? So please 10 minutes, meditate on that 10 minutes. That's all, thank you. Now we can dedicate and close in prayers.
May I attain in each and every life the sublime virtues of existence and peace. May I pursue the flawless mindset of altruism, working for the welfare of others on a vast scale. Through this very merit of mine, may every single sentient being eliminate all forms of negativity and practice virtue forevermore. May supreme precious Bodhicitta take birth where it has not arisen. Where it has arisen, may it never wane, but continue to grow forevermore. For as long as space exists, for as long as beings endure, until then may I too remain to dispel the suffering of all beings. May I in all my lives, no matter where I am born, obtain the 7 qualities of the upper realms of existence. May I meet the Dharma immediately after taking birth and have the freedom to practice perfectly. May I please the sublime gurus and day and night dedicate myself to the Dharma. By realizing the Dharma and practicing its innermost essence, may I cross the ocean of conditioned existence in this very life. May I teach the sublime Dharma perfectly and never become weary and tired of benefiting others in samsara. By my own impartial and all-encompassing activities to benefit others, may all attain enlightenment together. Free, in the divine mandala where all that appears and exists is utterly pure, you, the sovereign of all the Buddha families and teacher of the Tantras, mature and liberate the 3 gates into their Vajra nature. Vajra King, may you ever remain. Within the Vajra body, you reveal the mandala of the great bliss of the indestructible 3 secrets. Most supreme of all, Lord of the Vajra transmission, Vajra Master, may you remain for 100 eons. Through the effortless path, you directly reveal unchanging self-awareness, the basic space of great bliss. Caring for the profound key instructions of perfection, glorious Guru, may you remain until the end of existence. Precious successor to the Gurus of the 3 lineages, may you remain throughout the 3 times in Vajra form, forever hoisting the great banner of the Dharma of the 3 lineages throughout the 3 realms.
All right, thank you very much.